Narayanam namaskritya
Narayanam namaskritya
naram chaiva narotamam
Naram Jaiva Narottama
deving sarasatim vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
tato jayamudirayat
Tato Jayamudire
nashta prayeshu bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavata tamashloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. So today we're going to speak from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled Creation. And this is chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna, text 41. And then we'll, after saying something about that verse, we'll save a little time for questions. And then also a few minutes to say a few words about the passing of Haridas Thakur. So this is one of those verses that you really have to pay attention to each syllable, otherwise the meter goes out the window. So try to listen. Muni ganan ripavarya sankulenta sadasi yudhishthira rajasuya esham arhanam upapeda ikshaniya Mama Jishi Gochara Esha Abhiratma Muni Ganan Ripavarya Sankulenta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esha Arhanam Upapeda Ikshaniyo Mama Jishi Gochara Esha Aviratma Muni Ganan Ripavarya Sankulenta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esha Arhanam Upapeda Ikshaniyo Mama Drishi Gochara Esha Aviratma. Please chant. Muni Ganan Ripavarya Sankulenta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esha Arhanam Upapeda Ikshaniyo Mama Jishi Gochara Esha Aviratma. Vaishnavis. Muni Ganan Ripavarya Sankulenta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esha Arhanam upapeda ikshaniya. Mama drishi gochara esha aviratma. Muni gana nripavarya sankalentaha. Sadasi yudhishthira rajasuya esha. Arhanam upapeda ikshaniya. Mama drishi gochara esha aviratma. So, synonyms. Munigana, the great learned sages. Nripavarya, the great ruling kings. Sankule, in the great assembly. In the great assembly of. Antaksadasi, conference. Yudhishthira, of Emperor Yudhishthira. Rajasuye, a royal performance of sacrifice. Esham, of all the great elites. Arhanam, respectful worship. Upapeda, received. Ikshaniyaha, the object of attraction. Mama, my. Drishi, sight. Gocharaha, within the view of. Esha avihi, personally present. Atma, the soul. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. Please repeat. At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice, performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders. And in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. Srila Prabhupada's purport. After gaining victory in the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira, the emperor of the world, performed the Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. The emperor in those days, upon his ascendance to the throne, would send a challenge horse all over the world to declare his supremacy, and any ruling prince or king was at liberty to accept the challenge and express his tacit willingness either to obey or to disobey the supremacy of the particular emperor. One who accepted the challenge had to fight with the emperor and establish his own supremacy by victory. The defeated king would have to sacrifice his life, making a place for another king or ruler. So, Maharaj Yudhishthira also dispatched such challenging horses all over the world, and every ruling prince and king all over the world accepted Maharaj Yudhishthira's leadership as the emperor of the world. After this, all rulers of the world under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira were invited to participate in the great sacrificial ceremony of Rajasuya. Such performances required hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was not an easy job for a petty king Such a sacrificial ceremony being too expensive and also difficult to perform under present circumstances is now impossible in this age of Kali. Nor can anyone secure the required expert priesthood to take charge of the ceremony. So, after being invited, all the kings and great learned sages of the world assembled in the capital of Maharaj Yudhishthira. The learned society, including the great philosophers, religionists, physicians, scientists, and all great sages, was invited. That is to say, the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas were the topmost leading men in society, and they were all invited to participate in the assembly. The Vaishyas and Shudras were unimportant elements in society, and they are not mentioned herein. Due to the change of social activities in the modern age, the importance of men has also changed in terms of occupational positions. So, in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was a cynosure, meaning the center of attraction and admiration of neighboring eyes. Everyone wanted to see Lord Krishna, and everyone wanted to pay his humble respects to the Lord. Bhishma Deva remembered all this and was glad that his worshipful Lord, the personality of Godhead, was present before him in his actual formal presence. So to meditate on the Supreme Lord is to meditate on the activities, form, pastimes, name, and fame of the Lord. That is easier than what is imagined as meditation on the impersonal feature of the Supreme. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 5, it is clearly stated that to meditate upon the impersonal feature of the Supreme is very difficult. It is practically no meditation or simply a waste of time, because very seldom is the desired result obtained. The devotees, however, meditate upon the Lord's factual form and pastimes, and therefore the Lord is easily approachable by the devotees. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 9. The Lord is non-different from his transcendental activities. It is indicated also in this shloka that Lord Sri Krishna, while actually present before human society, especially in connection with the battle of Kurukshetra, was accepted as the greatest personality of the time. Although he might not have been recognized as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the propaganda that a very great man is worshipped as God after his death is misleading, because a man after his death cannot be made into God, nor can the personality of Godhead be a human being, even when he is personally present. Both ideas are misconceptions. The idea of anthropomorphism, which means to attribute human characteristics to some object or animal, or even God with lowercase g, cannot be applicable in the case of Lord Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschasya Deshtarane Om Agyana Timirandasya Agyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavaksha Shri Rupam Sakadatam Saganam Rajnatan Batam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savanutam Purjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vataksha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jaganpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpaturubhya Shakripa Sadhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Gauravarta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So last night we mentioned in a presentation about Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he had written one book called Navadip Dhamma Mahatmya. And in that book he mentions this incident of the Rajasuya sacrifice in relation to the fact that Yudhishthira, he sent his brothers, there's 5 Pandavas, so besides Yudhishthira there's 4 others, Bhimasena, Arjuna, and then the twins, Nakul and Sahadev. So Bhimasena was sent to the south. The capital was Hastinapur, which is more in the north of India. And so Bhimasena was sent to the south towards Bengal. When he arrived in Bengal, there was one great king there who happened to actually also be a devotee of Krishna. His name was Samudrasena. And although he was a devotee, you could say, why didn't he just, because Krishna wanted Yudhishthira to be the emperor, why didn't he just submit? But being a Kshatriya, he didn't want to just submit, so he wanted to fight. So he challenged Bhimasena, and they were fighting like anything. And it's stated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that book that Bhima was actually losing, but Krishna didn't want Bhima to lose because he wants Yudhishthira to be. So what to do? So all of a sudden Bhima saw that Samudrasena got off his chariot and bowed down. So he thought, okay, he's surrendering. Okay, I accept your surrender. But what happened was, Krishna appeared before Samudrasena. Krishna wasn't necessarily at the battle. There was a battle between Bhima and Samudrasena, but Krishna appeared before Samudrasena. What do you do as a devotee? If Krishna appears before you, you bow down. So he got off his chariot and he bowed down, and that was the end of the fight. So the point Bhaktivinoda Thakur was making, that Krishna is so great that he can appear before one devotee and another devotee who's right there can't see him. Because Bhimasena didn't see that Krishna was there. All he saw was Samudrasena getting off his chariot. So Krishna can do that. He can appear and disappear at will. He can appear in an assembly of personalities, and he can appear to one person and not to others. We have experience of that. Lord Chaitanya's dancing at the Rath Yatra. He was present in all 7 Sankirtan parties, but only a few devotees could see that. So the Lord is always supreme. He's above, as as stated in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Muyanti Asuraya. He can bewilder even the great demigods. And he demonstrated that several times in his pastimes on earth. Bewildered Indra, he bewildered Brahma. It's interesting that we're in this section now, passing of Bhishma Dev, because today is also passing of who's also called Brahmahar. History of Bhishma Dev, why he had this benediction of only passing at his will, that he had satisfied his father Maharaj Shantanu, and Maharaj Shantanu gave him the blessing that you will only die when you want to. So although he was lying on this bed of arrows, being completely pierced by the arrows shot by his great-grandson, you could say, even though he had no children, having taken that Drida Vrata, that strong vow not to marry. So he didn't have any direct descendants, but because he was the head of the Kuru dynasty, then he was considered to be the Pitamaha, the great-grandfather of everybody. So this is another thing that's not easy to understand by non-devotees. Arjuna is a devotee of Krishna, Bhishma Dev is a devotee of Krishna, yet Arjuna is killing him by shooting arrows through his body. How is that possible? What kind of tradition are you people following?
Dysfunctional family. It's a dysfunctional family.
Dysfunctional family, yeah. That's right. Killing your great-grandfather, even the biggest thing, well, I shouldn't say even. Sometimes the demons do that. We have so many examples of that in history, of the Western world and the Eastern world, of personalities killing their own fathers or brothers just so they can take the throne. But Arjuna, again, is a devotee of Krishna, and Bhishma Dev is a devotee of Krishna. Why would he kill? It's hard to understand. Bhagavad Gita is not so easy to understand. People sometimes say, what kind of God you guys are worshipping? Who induces? Arjuna just wanted to chill. He just wanted to go to the forest and, forget about fighting against his kinsmen, let them take the kingdom. But no, Krishna said, no, kill them. They're going to die anyway. By my will, they're already dead. Kalosmi lokashaya prabidha lokan samahartam itam prabidha. He said, I have already killed them. I'm time I am. And by my influence, they're already killed. Now you kill them and take the benefit. You take the glory. Sabyasachi, be my instrument. So, yes, on Krishna's desire, Arjuna even though he didn't want to. Prabhupada said on several occasions that this is bhakti. Bhakti means doing something to please the Lord even that you don't want to do. It's not your nature. You don't really feel like getting into this particular seva. You know, like some of us at different times in our careers, like myself, I'm not really a pujari by nature, but sometimes you have to do it. There were stretches when I had to dress the deities on a daily basis or cook. I'm not a cook by nature, but I had to cook Raj Bhoga on a daily basis for some time because what's necessary, Prabhupada always said, do the needful. Whatever is necessary, that's what you do. So sometimes we have to do things that we're not naturally inclined to do. That is bhakti. Bhakti doesn't mean just doing, yes, it means using your God-given talents in God's service. Prabhupada said that. So if you're a great singer, sing for Krishna. If you're a great book distributor, distribute books for Krishna. But sometimes you may have to do things that you don't want to do. That is bhakti. That's surrender. It's a surrendering process. Sometimes we forget that. It's a surrendering process. It's not doing just what feels good to you. Surrender means you do what you're ordered to do. And then gradually, if you do that, and the person who's giving the orders, the spiritual master, ultimately the Supreme Lord, they become pleased with you for your surrender, then everything becomes easy. It's there's that verse from Pramodana Saraswati. Kaivalyam narakayate chudashapu akasha pushpayate durdam tendriya kala sarpa patalai protkata dangsrayate vishvam purna sakayate vidini mahendra distakitayate yakkaruna kataksha vaivavatam tam gora avastumak. So what is the proof that we have gotten the merciful sidelong glance, karuna kataksha, of Lord Chaitanya? These are the proofs. Kaivalyam narakayate, a devotee who has gotten the Lord's blessing, mercy, would rather go to hell. They don't see any benefit or any disturbance if they're sent to hell to preach. Or actually, another meaning is that this kaivalya, this impersonal liberation, is hellish. You don't want to merge into the existence of the Lord, because that means no seva. Bhakti means Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. Bhakti is the interaction between Bhakta and Bhagavan. That interaction is called Bhakti. So if you don't have a separate existence, how can you serve the Lord? How can you engage in Bhakti? So Kaivalyam narakayate, Tridashapur akasha pushpayate. This Tridashapur, the abode of the demigods, becomes like akasha pushpa, which has again two meanings. When you say something is sky flowers, it means it's something phantasmagoria. Or it also means that if you take some flowers in your hand and you throw them up in the air, how long do they stay? They come right back down again. So that's situation when you go to the heavenly planets. You may stay for some time and enjoy heavenly delights, but Jinya Punya Marchaloki, you come back down again. Dordam Tendere Kala Sarpapatalai. And then these senses, the indriyas, they're like snakes, poison, venomous snakes. Because at any moment, any one of our senses, if they're not kept under control, can drag us away from the path of bhakti. The eyes see something so-called beautiful. An example I like to use, I wasn't there, but one of my sannyas god brothers who was there at the time, this happened in Brazil. They were distributing books in Rio, the whole Sankirtan party of brahmacharis going door to door, and one brahmachari knocked on a door and he was never seen again. On the other side of the door was some beautiful girl and grabbed him, and that was it. So at any moment, the eyes can drag us away, the ears, the nose, the sense of touch. So they're considered to be like venomous snakes. But Durdam Tendriya Kala Sarpapatalai. For a devotee who has gotten the mercy of the Lord, those snake-like indriyas become like snakes without fangs. If right now a cobra was to come in the room, we would all want to run away. But if you know for a fact this cobra has no fangs, then you're not fearful. Then Vishnu Purna Sukayate. We're always preaching, we're preaching, it's a fact. The material world is a place of misery. Threefold miseries, adhyatmic, adibhotic, adidaivic miseries. They're all there for everyone. It's not that the leaders of the different countries of the world, they don't suffer from mental and bodily pains or pains given by other living entities or ultimately pains by the demigods. No, everybody suffers. So it's a place of suffering. That's established and we experience all the time. So Vishwan Purna, how can the devotee see it as a place of sukh, of happiness? Because again, at every moment, due to their surrender to the Lord and service to the Lord, they're experiencing happiness. It's not artificial. It's not a mental concoction. The devotees actually feel bliss, blissed out. They experience bliss by the mercy of the Lord. And Vidi Mahendra Shakitayate. Vidi, Lord Brahma, and Mahendra, Lord Shiva. Not that the devotees see them as insect, but they don't desire that position. They don't desire the position of being Lord Brahma, which is attainable. One can attain that position. You can't attain the position of Lord Shiva. Jai Panchatattva Ki Jai. Shishi Gorditai Ki Jai. There's technically 3 tattvas: Vishnu tattva, Jiva tattva, and Shiva tattva. So you can't become Lord Shiva. You can't become. But the point is the devotees are not aspiring for some great position in the material world. They're satisfied by whatever position the Lord puts them in. Whether it's a Yudhishthira, Emperor of the world, or Bhishma Dev, or any position that the Lord gives the devotee remains satisfied. Satisfaction is a hallmark of being a devotee. If you are actually a devotee, or even a brahmana, not necessarily even a devotee. Brahmanas are supposed to be very satisfied. Prabhupada tells a story of one brahmana near Krishnanagar. His fame was spread all over. He was very learned and very renounced. So the local zamindar came to see him and he said, "My dear brahmana, I see that you're living in a very poor condition, just a little thatched cottage, and it doesn't seem that you're eating very much, you're very skinny. I can give you whatever." And he said, no, I'm very satisfied. My students, they bake some rice, they bring, and my wife cooks it, and we have one tamarind tree, we take a few leaves and we add to the rice, and we're happy. So this is the hallmark of a brahmana, what to speak of a devotee. Devotees should always be satisfied. So that satisfaction is fostered by having a mood of gratitude. Having a mood of gratitude. When we're grateful in whatever situation Krishna puts us in, understanding that this life is very short, especially in this Kali Yuga. Tata chanurinas dharma satyam sotam samadaya. Kalena balena raja nang satyayu balam spritihi. So everything reduces. It's verse from the 12th canto. Everything reduces in Kali Yuga, including the ayu, the duration of life, from 100,000 to 10,000 to 1,000. And now, if you make it to 100, you're considered to be very, very old. Our oldest godbrother, not by initiation but by age, is His Grace Amala Bhakta Swami. He's in Los Angeles. He's exactly 20 years older than me. I'll be 73 in October, he'll be 93 in October. So we consider him to be old, but when you think of it, 9 times 10, any child can tell you, 9 times 10, it's not very much. 90 of anything is not very much. Practically, as young brahmacharis, some of us could eat 90 gulab jamuns. Not exactly, but we try. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10. We used to have, so foolish brahmacharis, we used to have gulab jamun eating contests. Brahmachari is supposed to, only at a festival take a little sweet, but not that many sweets.
Macho brahmachari. Macho brahmachari.
So yeah, ISKCON history is there. Nowadays I don't think the brahmacharis, some brahmacharis, they don't even eat at night because they don't want to be disturbed in their sleep. Which is good. Very good if you can do that. But if you preach, sometimes you're hungry at night, you have to probably set that example that he came back from one preaching program. It was late, like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and Prabhupada asked for prasadam, so the devotees were surprised. Prabhupada, it's late. Prabhupada said, no, bring me. So Prabhupada just really nothing, okay, just make some puris, and Prabhupada took the puri and put it in some sugar and ate it with his milk. So there's also that. You should obey your hunger, Prabhupada said. Prabhupada was very upset if he was hungry and the prasad was late. He said, I've lost my appetite. So he said, obey your hunger. If you're hungry, eat. But normally, if you're regulated, then your hunger will come just in time for the prasad. right? If you live a regulated life, you go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, take your meals at the same time every day, then naturally everything falls into place. But based on your particular physical nature, you may be able to digest more than somebody else. I remember the first time I went to India, 1976, was that famous. There were so many devotees going from America that we chartered an Air India 747, 400 plus devotees on the plane. Anyway, we landed in Calcutta in the evening and we went to the Albert Road Temple, which is still there. And as American brahmacharis, we were used to it, at least in Los Angeles, where we came from, where I was stationed at the time. Evening prasadam meant cookie, a cup of milk, and somebody reading Krishna book. That was evening. So we were shocked. We went to this Albert Road Temple, and most of these Bengali brahmacharis were small stature, not very tall. But at 9 o'clock at night, they sat down and they ate. They made a mound of rice on a plate, and they made a little hole on top and filled it with dal. And they ate all of this rice and dal at 9 o'clock at night. So we were shocked. We were not used to that. And we were all kind of whispering, I bet you they don't make it to Mangalarti. But they did. Because that's their nature. They are used to that. They can eat a mound of rice and dal at 9 o'clock at night and still get up for Mangalarti. So, but you have to know your own physical nature. You have to know, kapha pitta vayu, what is your nature, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. Like in my case, I'm mostly vayu constitution, so I love peanuts, but it's not good for my constitution, so just eat them once in a while. So entire Vedic culture is based on knowledge. Veda means knowledge. So the Vedic culture is based on knowledge in all departments. In the Ayurveda, and Dhanurveda, and what to speak of again, the Upasana, understanding what is the goal of life and how to achieve it. So Bhishma Dev, as a devotee of the Lord, he had that benediction from his father that he would not die until he wanted to. So even though we can't even imagine being impaled, arrows so many through your whole body that they're stuck in the ground, that you're elevated off the ground, you're lying like this. We can't even imagine the pain. One splinter from a piece of wood goes in your finger. Imagine so many arrows going through your body. But because he's a devotee, he's beyond the bodily platform. So not experiencing what an ordinary person would. But as he's remembering here that he was present at the Rajasuya sacrifice, and the Lord stated here that everyone accepted. But not everyone accepted. There was one person in the assembly that didn't accept. Who was that? Shishupal.
And his followers.
So because he didn't accept Krishna, he was detestful of Krishna his whole life. So he didn't accept at the Rajasuya. So he lost his head because of his being opposed to Krishna being the cynosure, the center of attention, which is God's natural position. God's natural position is to be the center, cynosure of all attention, attraction, service. That's God's natural position. And when we, not even initially maybe envy, but when we just wonder what it will be like to have that position, then we have to come to the material world. Because you can't experience that in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everything is perfect. And everybody perfectly worships Krishna, either in his Narayan form or in any of the other forms that he expands. So if you want to experience what it would be like to be Krishna, then you have to come to the material world. That's what the material world is created for, so that we can try to experience what it would be like to be the center of attraction, of attention, of service. Doesn't work out, ultimately. Because you can't have, right now they say there are about 8 billion human beings on the planet. You can't have 8 billion centers of attention and attraction. And therefore we clash, we fight. Some people demand it, and they have enough position and wealth and military strength that they can demand. I don't want you to just be my neighbor, you have to be my subordinate neighbor, otherwise I'll kill you. This is what's going on around the world. But devotees are satisfied in all conditions because they're grateful, whatever position Krishna puts them in, they feel gratitude. And if we don't feel gratitude, then instead of engaging in seva, we think we're doing a favor. We perform our service like we're doing a favor. Yes, I'm worshiping the deity, but I'm doing the deity a favor by being here and waving the incense. Yes, I go out and distribute books, but I'm doing my spiritual master a favor so that his zone can have higher score. We always think that we're doing a favor instead of, if we don't have the right attitude of gratitude. So we should always check ourselves and make sure that we remain grateful on a moment-to-moment basis, that we don't develop this attitude of that we're doing our guru or ISKCON a favor by the things that we do. No. Prabhupada has established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness as a vehicle for taking everybody back to home, back to Godhead. It has that potency. If everybody follows Srila Prabhupada's instructions, chants Hare Krishna, follows the principles, does some seva in this movement, then you'll go back to Godhead, guaranteed, Prabhupada said. If you just stick, one time Prabhupada said, just follow these regular principles and chant your rounds every day, you will go back to Godhead, guaranteed. But the point is, if you don't have the right attitude, then you won't be able to do that. Maya will again trick you. I've seen it happen so many times, especially, not that we shouldn't work hard, but some devotees, they join the movement, and because they have a background of working hard, they immediately take to hard work and they want to work hard. But after some time, because they're not doing it in the right mood, they say, I'm working hard every day for this society, I'm not getting what I'm worth, and so many lazy guys are here, they're just eating and sleeping every day, let me go out and get a job. And then they again get sucked in by that material energy. So it's not just about working hard, it's about working with the right attitude. If we have the right attitude, then we don't envy anyone, we don't cause anybody any anxiety, we simply are grateful for whatever seva we are able to do. And again, it may not always be something that you want to do, it may not fit your psychophysical nature, but there's an authority structure, and that remains so, even in the spiritual world. Like last night we were saying in that same book, Navadip Mahatmya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals that he's a manjari. So manjari means they're assisting the gopis. So there's a hierarchy, even in the spiritual world. It's not that when you go back to God, and again, you can't become Radharani, you can't become Krishna. You're a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Radharani and Krishna. So we should always have that mood of servant of the servant of the servant. Brityasa Brita Paricharika Brita Brityasa. Brityasa Brita Itimam Smara Lokanatha. One devotee is praying like that. Mad Janmanam Manaranam Madhakaitavari. Mad Partaniya Yadanugra Esha Eva. Brityasa Brita Paricharika Brita Brita. This is where we get that praise, servant of the servant of the servant. He's praying to Krishna that the highest perfection of my life and the best gift that you can give me is if you always think of me, Smara Lokanatha, my dear Lokanath, think of me as a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. So that's our aspiration. We don't want necessarily position, although that may come. We don't want glorification, although that will also come, as we will see in the passing of Haridas Thakur. But we just want to be the servants of the servants of the servants of Lokanath. So we'll stop here if there's any question on this verse and purport, and then we'll just take a few minutes to summarize Haridas Thakur's passing. Okay, so as we mentioned last night in relation to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there are two things that are celebrated in the lives of the great souls, great devotees. For Krishna, there's only Avirbhav. We only have Krishna's appearance. We never celebrate Krishna's disappearance. But for the devotee, there's Avirbhav and Tirobhav, appearance and disappearance. So Haridas Thakur, as we know, he's called Brahma Haridas. He's the incarnation of Lord Brahma. And although he associated with the Panchatattva, obviously he's not a member of the Panchatattva, but beginning with Advaitacharya, who recognized him, even though he was born in a Muslim family, he recognized him as a great devotee. So he offered him the Shraddha Patra, which was eye-opening for the puffed-up brahmanas of that time, that Advaitacharya is giving the Shraddha Patra to a Muslim? How is that? Well, he recognized that. And of course, the Lord and his expansions, they don't see in terms of external designation. That's why we have, for instance, in the Battle of Kurukshetra, some devotees even wonder, how is it that Balaram could like Duryodhana? He was such a monster, such a demon, trying to kill the Pandavas since childhood, especially Bhimasen. He was always trying to kill him because he was envious that Bhimasen was so strong as a child. But Lord Balaram is not seeing the externals. He's seeing that here's a soul who is in the material world and should be blessed so he can go back to the spiritual world. Anyway, so Advaita Acharya was not seeing the externals, he was seeing that here's a great soul. And similarly, Lord Nityananda recognized Haridas Thakur as being a preacher and therefore a worthwhile companion. And so they went out preaching together in Bengal because Lord Chaitanya had sent Nityananda back to Bengal to preach. He said, I don't see anybody else but you who can deliver that land, so go back. Don't stay with me here in Puri, go back to Bengal and preach. And Lord Nityananda took Haridas Thakur as his companion, his preaching partner. And they were together in that famous institute of the Jagai Madai. They approached Jagai Madai and told him, chant the holy names of Hari, and he was attacked. They threw the pot and hit Lord. So anyway, my point is that Haridas Thakur, he associated with the Panchatattva intimately, but he was not a member of the Panchatattva. So throughout his life, he was especially noted as being attached to chanting the Hare Krišna mantra. Therefore, he's known as Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. He was chanting 3,300,000 holy names every day. It's about 192 rounds or something like that, 196 rounds. We struggle, at least I can speak for myself, even after so many decades of chanting. Still, it's, you have to fix your mind. So that's why I was recommending last night. One of the biggest enemies of good japa is the cell phone. So put it away during the japa period. Too many devotees, I travel around and I see cell phone in one hand, the other hand in the japa bag, and they're Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the biggest enemy of pure chanting is distracted chanting. And we do it to ourselves. We don't need somebody to distract us. We voluntarily distract ourselves. So if we want to get to the platform of Shuddha, pure chanting of Hare Krishna, then we have to very carefully and consciously avoid distractions. And that also includes what I call, I may have said that here because I say it everywhere I go, but japa terrorists. Every temple has at least one. A japa terrorist is somebody who doesn't care that you're trying to get into your japa. Just whatever pops in their mind that they want to talk about, they interrupt your japa. Hey Prabhu, remember such and such, or would you like to such and such? Japa terrorist. So try to avoid japa terrorists and don't be a japa terrorist. It's not that whatever pops in your mind you should share with somebody while they're chanting japa. Let them chant their japa. Every temple has a japa period, the period after Totsi Puja up until greeting. In some temples it's only an hour and a half. In New York, they've designed a program so it's 2 hours. From 5:30 to 7:30, 2 hours. So you can actually finish your 16 rounds if you chant very consciously and with concentration. So to have somebody disturb your japa so you lose a round or two, it's a big deal. At least for me, it's a big deal. Because now during the day you have to find time to chant those extra rounds. So don't be a japa terrorist and don't allow anybody to terrorize your japa. Just, I'm sorry, Prabhu, can we wait till after breakfast? Is it really important? Is it really critical? If it's not, can we wait till after breakfast? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Just turn away. So Haridas Thakur was not a japa terrorist. He preferred to chant in a secluded place, chant his 3 lakhs of names every day. At the same time, we shouldn't imitate Haridas Thakur. We should be able to chant amongst the devotees. As I told that story last night about those brahmacharis who were leaving the temple. And Prabhupada said, oh, they won't see any women out there. They can't chant with their mother in the temple. If you can't chant with your mother, then you should go live in the forest somewhere. So we should be able to chant japa together and not terrorize each other. Just, chant with concentration. So Haridas Thakur chanted obviously with concentration every day. But the point came where he was not able to finish his round. So Lord Chaitanya came and said, Haridas, what seems to be the problem? How is your health? What's happening? He said, my real problem is that I can't finish my rounds. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, you're beyond that point. You're beyond that point. You don't have to worry about you because we are enjoying to chant with numerical strength. That's why we have the bead bag and we have a counter string. We chant and then we count 1 round, 2 rounds, up to 16. Or on Ekadashi I chant 25 rounds. But so with a numerical strength, we're supposed to chant. So Haridas Thakur maintained that numerical strength throughout his manifest presence, but the time came when it was difficult for him. He was struggling to chant his 3 lakhs of names every day. So Lord Chaitanya said, you don't have to, you're beyond that point. But he said, no, I'm not happy. But he said, what's really bothering me is that I know that very soon you're going to wind up your manifest Leela and you're going to leave. I don't want to be here when that happens. Please grant me the benediction that I can pass away before you do, before you leave. So, Lord Chaitanya gave his benediction. So the day came when Haridas Thakur left his body. You should read, it's the 11th chapter of the Antya Leela. That pastime is there, you can read later. But I just selected the aftermath, a few verses from the aftermath. Lord Chaitanya took the body of Haridas Thakur, he danced, and they went to the ocean, they bathed the body in the ocean, they made a hole in the sand and covered the body with sand, because the great devotees, the acharyas, the gurus, they're not, generally in the Vedic culture, the body is burned. But the great devotees, acharyas, gurus, their bodies are interred. So his body was interred. And then there was a big festival. Lord Chaitanya called for huge quantities of prasadam and lined up the devotees. And he started in the beginning, he was personally serving the devotees. And he stated he was serving enough that 5 men could eat. So the indication there is that when we have a festival, in general, on a daily basis, there should be enough prasadam that the devotees can eat to their full satisfaction, especially new devotees. We should not force the new devotees especially to only eat a certain amount. That wasn't Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada's mood was the new devotees especially should eat till they waddle like a duck. Because they've given up all sense gratification. Your old sense gratification, the only sense gratification now is your prasadam. And gradually you will control, guaranteed, trust me, gradually you will control your intake. It shouldn't be forced upon you. So, but I've noticed as I travel around ISKCON, a lot of temple managers, they're practically forcing the devotees to only eat a certain amount. That's not good. Let the new devotees eat as much. I remember when I joined, skinny fellow that I was, but I had a big appetite. And the temples in those days, they were certainly not very wealthy, but they had enough money to make sufficient quantity of prasadam. I remember, and in Henry Street where I joined, Maharaj can tell you, there were like 100 brahmacharis in the ashram. But still, they made enough prasadam that everybody could eat. You could get first, seconds, thirds. Nowadays, you're lucky if you get first. So on a daily basis, the managers should make sure there's enough prasadam for the devotees. What to speak of on a festival day. Festival day, there should be enough of each preparation that everybody can get. It's so disappointing when you go to a festival, a feast at a festival, at a temple, and I'm sorry, we ran out of gulab jamans, or we ran out of sabji, or no, there's no running out. Lord Chaitanya again set the example. There should be enough prasadam that each man can eat as much as 5 men can eat. Of course, according to your means, but prasadam doesn't necessarily mean fancy. It means sufficient quantity. So if you can only afford rice and dal, then make enough rice and dal that everybody can eat to their full satisfaction. But if you're going to make samosas, make enough samosas that everybody will get. Not that the first 50 people get and then the next 100 don't get. Not like that. That's not right. That's not proper. So there was a big festival, big feast, and then at the end, I just want to read a few verses because Lord Chaitanya gave a benediction. So this is Antya Leela, chapter 11, text 90. Prema Vishtahana Prabhu Karna Varadana Shuni Bhakta Ganar Judaya Manasakam. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered a benediction to all the devotees, which all the devotees heard with great satisfaction. Then 91 through 93, I'll read the translation for time. It's almost 9 o'clock. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this benediction, quote, anyone who has seen the festival of Sri Haridas Thakur's passing away, anyone who has chanted and danced here, anyone who has offered sand on the body of Haridas Thakur, and anyone who has joined this festival to partake of the prasadam will achieve the favor of Krishna very soon. There is such wonderful power in seeing Haridas Thakur. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.